was the start of everything. 2015, I was a sophomore in college. I'd been in Middle Tennessee for maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I remember this was a time in my life where I was constantly praying and asking God, like, God, what is my purpose? Like, what am I created to do? I was like just in a deep space of just really wanting to know, like, why was I created? Like, what is it that God placed inside of me that, you know, he wanted me to do ultimately? And I remember having this dream. One night I had this dream, and it wasn't just an ordinary dream. It was a dream that was literally God showing me my life. And when I had this dream, I don't remember the dream verbatim. I don't remember, you know, exact details of the dream. I just remember God showing me that I was going to be an author. And it wasn't just me being an author. It was so much more to that. And I remember waking up and I was just bursting with excitement. And I called my father and I told my father about the dream. And I was just so excited. I was just so filled with joy. And so I was telling my father, you know, you have to have a story to tell. You have to have something to write about. And at that time, I didn't have nothing to write about. I didn't have no story to tell as far as I knew. And I wasn't into writing like that. The dream was like completely like out of nowhere. To me, it just seemed like it was out of nowhere. But after that, fast forward, I didn't do anything with it. I just held on to that information, to that dream. And the word of God is so real and so true. Literally, the word of God says to write the vision and make it plain. It says, the vision will not tarry, it is for an appointed time. I did not write my first book until years after I had that dream. And it's so funny that the thing that I wrote about, or the things I wrote about, were things I experienced during the time that I had the dream and the time I wrote the book. Like, God knows exactly what he's doing. His timing is perfect. And when God gives us visions and dreams, and when he shows us things and tells us things about ourselves, and just gives us revelation about our lives, it's not for us to go and try to manifest these things on our own. It's for him. It's for us to be committed to him, and so that he could cultivate what he needs to cultivate in us and take us through that process, because he knows at the time that he gives us that vision, that dream, that revelation, that we're not ready for it. He doesn't show it to us so that we can go and make it happen right then and right there. No, that's out of the will of God. And so I had to go through the process of God cultivating me, of God, you know, showing me things and allowing me to experience certain things. So between the time that I had the dream in 2015 and the time that I wrote the book in 2017, I had random people coming up to me, and they were saying things like, have you ever thought about writing a book? Or, you know what, you should write a book. And it was very random. Like, we weren't talking about careers, we weren't talking about writing, we weren't talking about books. It was just God. It was literally God just giving me confirmation. And to put the icing on the cake, my pastor, Pastor McCarroll, literally, he preached this sermon about rekindling the fire, and that sermon literally was speaking directly to me. That put the icing on the cake. And that day, I went home and I started writing, and I wrote my first book. I published my first book. It was great. It was a success. I had so many people coming up to me telling me how much my book has helped them get through tough times. And that same year, 2018, God gave me this idea. It was like an idea, like God just planted in me. And the idea, it kind of came from what I was seeing. I was seeing so many children take their lives as a result of being bullied. And so I knew that God gave me the gift of writing, and he gave me the idea to write a children's book about bullying. And that was the start of something great. That was the start of something great. I wrote my very first children's book in 2018, the same year that my first book came out. And so after my second book was written and published in 2019, I feel like I did so much that year. That year I had a book tour. I had book signings at Barnes & Nobles, at local bookstores. I went on lots of school visits, podcasts, local news stations, and I feel like I did so much that year. And I feel like I was able to get the word out about bully awareness and to just let people know that Bully Me Not, my books exist. And there was one school visit that I would never forget. There was this little boy who came up to me and he told me that he wanted to take his life because he was bullied. And it was at that moment, on that day, when I just knew that what God placed inside of me is so much bigger than me. You know, it's not about me, not by a long shot. Like, place me to the side. I ultimately just want to do what God has called me to do, because I know what He's called me to do is to serve, to make an impact, and to change lives, to save lives. And if I can just be put to the side and just let God use me and be a vessel, I just know that I can make such a great impact. And so 2018, this is the year that I decided to go back to school and get my master's degree. And during this time, I was an intern at Metro Nashville Public Schools. And I remember this particular day, we were in a seminar or some kind of class. And I remember God showing me this vision. And it's like it just flashed across my face. God showed me that my books were going to be on TV. Not just my books, but they were going to be a cartoon on TV. And I remember just bursting with excitement, and I went home and I wrote it down, and I remember writing it on my vision board for the upcoming year. This was 2018, 2019, okay? The Word of God says, write the vision and make it plain. He says for an appointed time. Just like He showed me that dream in 2015, 2-3 years later, I wrote the book. God showed me the vision about the cartoon in 2018. It is now the year of 2024. And God's word does not return void. It's all I can say. All I can say is that God is faithful, and what He shows you, what He reveals to you will come to pass in His perfect timing. This is a year of manifestation, and I'm super excited to share with you what God has been revealing to me all these years. Super excited to share with the world what God shared with me. 2023, just last year, I sat down and I had a conversation with God, and I asked God, I said, why me and why now? And I was speaking in terms of the children's books He's got me writing and just all the things He's placed in my spirit to do. And then God said, why not you? And why not now? And I sat there and I just started thinking about all the reasons God would choose me. And it doesn't matter how many degrees I've got. It doesn't matter how much experience I've got. If God placed something inside of me, I have everything that I need to produce what He placed inside of me to produce. I have everything that I need for the calling that He's got on my life, to fulfill the assignment that He's placed in my hands to fulfill.